The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, your favorites and mine, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. Today we will be answering listener emails, and we have a response from one of our previous emails, Shelby from Baltimore. And Shelby has some answers, and we have further discussion, particularly for Dr. Gershwer. And Shelby writes, first, to answer your question, no, I am not wealthy and looking for a tax break, but I do support someone having a plan for the economy. Trump gave us that, and Harris could not. Although I know no one on the podcast supports tariffs, they are bringing in money to the American economy. I get that you say tariffs are fleecing the American consumer, but prices are up on only some goods, and it's not as widespread as you claim. I think the Biden presidency was a social disaster, moving the country more toward a European social model that I cannot support. I would agree that Harris would have continued that path, and that is one of the many reasons I could never support her. Why? Here comes a question. Why do you want America to change so badly? We have been a great country and have contributed so much to the world with what I can only guess you feel are backward policies and Christian values. We need to embrace those past policies and return America to greatness. As for the question about buying stakes in companies, that would be with the federal government, I'm okay with that. Corporations are one of the greatest threats to the American people, second only to liberalism. The government should rein in these economic behemoths and return the American economies to the rightful owners, the American people. Government oversight is, in my opinion, the best way to accomplish this. I don't agree with much of what is said on the podcast, but I am open-minded enough to listen and acknowledge your sometimes misguided views. Shelby. So,
and there you have it.
Thanks for getting back to us, Shelby. Really appreciate it. It's important to have these dialogues. I think it's a kind of a funny thing, isn't it? And Mark, you're old enough to remember this, I think. back when it was Democrats that were pro-tariff and Republicans that were anti-tariff.
I do remember that.
And the reason for that was because the pro-union, America Democrats used to want to have high tariffs to prevent outside, nations outside companies outside our nation from doing business here and making money that should go for American workers. So if you remember, I think it was in the 70s, maybe the 80s, look for the union label and all that, that song, Look for the union label.
Yep.
And so things, I guess, have changed. I am not anti-tariff, I should say, but I don't recognize these things that Trump is doing as tariffs because they're just way too high. As I've said before, tariffs are like 1.5%, 2%, 2.6%. These are 15%, 50%, 25%, in some cases like 100%. And it's having a very bad effect on our economy. And if you don't feel it yet, just wait. Sometimes when you fall off the roof and you're going by the 15th floor and you go, this isn't so bad, you have to kind of wait a little longer before you feel the bad. And it's a ridiculous thing to say as you're going by the 15th floor that it's not as bad as you had hoped it was. So that's my first comment, and I will say I'll throw some facts out there just for Shelby to chew on a little bit. The Trump tariff war with China has resulted in blowback. China is fighting back, as you can imagine. They did the first time, and they actually won that trade war with Trump last time. Biden, by the way, kept some of the tariffs on China that he wanted them to earn their way out of, but they never did. But one of the shoes that dropped just recently, yesterday, is that Chinese buyers booked 10 cargoes of Argentinian soybeans after Buenos Aires, of whom more in a minute, scrapped grain export taxes, dealing us another setback here, our farmers here. So Argentina, who we just announced we are supporting in some kind of way economically, undermined us yet again. Not only don't they have tariffs that they have to deal with, but they've removed their export taxes altogether, and now all the business that should have gone to the American farmers are going to Argentinian farmers, and that is a direct result of Trump's trade war with China.
Yeah, and Shelby, Scott is very right. There was a time, and yes, I am old enough to remember it, unfortunately, when it was really the Democrats that were big on tariffs. Because when you think about unions, and for all the good things that unions do, when we think of all the positives that unions have to the workforce, one of the issues that a lot of people complain about unions is that unions are really based around protectionism. They want to make sure that the goods are coming from the United States. As Scott was singing that, look for the union label. That was a huge cry for them, and they rejected imports because to them it was bad for the union workers that they represented. They did not want foreign companies coming in and competing against them, because that made dealing with the companies and negotiating contracts that would be fair in their mind, it made it more difficult, because the company could just say, hey, we have to compete against foreign labor forces that are a lot cheaper than they are here in the United States. So that's one of the issues for all the things that are good about unions. That's one of the things about unions that was really a negative, was the attitude of protectionism. And I think when we look at the tariffs today, and the point that we're making, it's not, and I agree with Scott. It's not that we're anti-tariffs. There really is a place for these things. There truly is a place for tariffs, and we have to remember we cannot put a tariff to spite our face, and that we're doing a lot of that. We want to build factories. We want to have more stable industry in the United States. And to have that, you've got to have factories. And to have that, you've got to have materials. And if we're going to tariff the materials to build the factories, well, I'm sorry, that's going to cause us a huge problem. As we're now, and not only that, but when we look at, we're going to go back to the Hyundai plant down in Georgia. That's probably a dead deal now. Hyundai's basically saying, no, screw you. We're not doing it now. How many people in Georgia did that policy? And it may not seem related. The immigration policy may not seem related, but it does come into focus here on how a policy such as that can influence the economy. When we're talking about what prices, and you say, well, prices haven't gone up that much. Not on everything, and you're right. Although I will say this, I did notice that gasoline went up 40 cents here in South Carolina over the last 3 days. But when we're talking about produce, the cost of produce is going to go up, because those workers who were targeted to get out of the United States were being basically taken advantage of. Okay. That's wrong too, but that is what kept those prices down. And when you start getting Americans, if you can get Americans to go out and pick the tomatoes and pick the produce that we have here, you're going to find that price is going to go up, because bottom line is they've got to make up for the shortfall when they have to pay those higher prices. Even Walmart is raising its prices. This huge behemoth of a company is raising its prices because it's saying we can no longer eat the tariffs. So as Scott said, we're on the 50th floor. We haven't reached the pavement yet. But the way that this policy is going, we're headed directly toward it, and it's going to be a hard fall. It's going to be a hard landing.
I recommend Belle of the Ranch, who used to be, Mark, you introduced me to that. It used to be Beau of the Fifth Column.
Oh, Belle of the Ranch. Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's his wife, actually.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So for common sense, former military, I recommend a YouTube channel called Belle, Belle, of the Ranch. And in listening to Belle of the Ranch, I learned that an indicator of how well the economy is doing are how many cardboard boxes the industry needs for packing. And there used to be anything shipped from Europe that was under $800 in value would not have any sort of duty or tariff or anything on it. Well, that is gone. And people now have, for small packages, people now have to pay the tariff on it. DHL, which is a European delivery company, will no longer deliver to the United States at all. And Belle of the Ranch pointed out that orders for cardboard and the making of cardboard and cardboard boxes have decreased to the extent that I believe she said in Georgia, they had to close 9 locations, or the industry itself is down 9%, something like that. The number 9 was in there somewhere. And if you look for her, barking dogs is in the title of these YouTube episodes. They're the barking dogs of the economy. The dog barks when something is happening, like an alert, like a guard dog. And this is one of the barking warning indicators that people don't think about. And I certainly never thought about that. But people aren't ordering items that would normally be put in boxes because they don't have the money to do that.
Somebody's got to tell my wife that. Somebody's got to give that memo to Linda and let her know, because I swear there's a box shows up at my door every single day. So I don't know. And it's, of course, new grandkids, we got all sorts of boxes. I spend more time running to the dump with empty boxes to recycle than I do anything else. I am an expert at cutting down Amazon boxes. So please send that memo to my bride and let her know that, she is totally disrupting the economy of the United States because she's overusing boxes. And, maybe I'll save a buck or two.
Okay, so next, Shelby, you said
she's keeping them afloat, Mark.
Oh, right. Yeah, she's keeping them afloat.
Yeah, she's saving the box industry.
There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
Sure. Where was I? You were saying that Biden is kind of a dead letter issue here, but was moving the country more towards a European social model that you can't support, which I assume you mean is like democratic socialism. Wait till you see how much of your tax dollars are going to go to the farmers who have just lost all their business to Argentina, and those farmers who have lost their business to Australia, and those farmers who have lost their business to Brazil. And there's going to be a rush to give them taxpayer money to keep them happy because they generally vote red. And that is the most socialist thing that you can have in a country. We're literally redistributing money to people on the basis of their voting and on the basis of the fact that they've lost their income that used to be an honest income due to the policies of the government. So when you say that, I don't know, Mark, did he spell fleecing this way, the way you have it with the bug flee and then sing?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't mean flea singing. I meant fleecing, like a sheep shearing a sheep.
I think it was a play on words, Scott.
Oh, okay. Very good. The that consumers are being fleeced. Yes, this is true. I mean, if you believe that other countries are paying these, as Trump continues to insist, I don't know what we can do with you. Other countries don't pay tariffs. We pay tariffs. The American consumers, businesses pay tariffs. Even Mark brought up Walmart. No, Walmart is one of the most powerful companies in the world. When they tell their suppliers, hey, you're going to have to eat the tariffs, you're going to have to lower your prices 40% to make up for the fact that we have to pay these tariffs, they can pull that off. But apparently they're not, because they're raising their prices, and Target has, and all these other businesses are out there, and we can find lists of it and post it somewhere, I suppose. But you can do your own research here. It's not that hard to do, to find all the companies that are saying, hey, we're gonna have to raise our prices due to tariffs, and everything is getting more expensive. It may not be there yet, but it'll get there. Things don't happen overnight in an economy this large, but once it hits the iceberg, it's really hard to stop it from scraping up against that iceberg and popping all the rivets that hold it together, and it will sink. And that's what it happened last time, and it's happening again on a much grander scale. So you can expect more pain this time than you got last time. And I think it's really important to understand, again, I'm not against tariffs. We've spoken about aluminum here, right? Aluminum was an industry that Trump seems to want to protect, but we don't have, and for all intent and purposes, we don't have an aluminum manufacturing business here in the United States. There are 4 operating plants making aluminum in the United States, 2 by Alcoa and 2 by Century, which is not even a U.S. company. They create about 650 tons of aluminum every year. That's nothing. It's not a lot of aluminum. We use 3.8 million metric tons, and we're making 700, not even 700,000 tons. We're not close. So of course we're bringing in aluminum from other countries, and we're paying tariffs 25% more for them than we did before. And here's the thing. Why are we protecting an industry that we don't have?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Century wants to build a plant, and I'm all for it. Build the plant. But they can't even build the plant because steel is also being tariffed, and they need steel to build the plant. And they can't afford to build the plant now because steel is up so high. So this is having a ripple effect on our entire economy. And yeah, if you don't feel it yet, just wait. They've cracked the whip, and it's coming. The wave is coming, and it'll come for you. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Well, and you know what, Scott, you're right. I mean, the economy, the United States economy is a behemoth in itself. And the fact is that it does not turn on a dime. And, we may not feel the impacts of the tariffs across the board right now, but let's remember, we are very good at stockpiling things. And many of the things that you're receiving today, that the price has not gone up significantly. And I'm not going to say, significantly, not that they haven't gone up, because pretty much the price of everything's gone up. Take a look at coffee. Coffee's beginning to get like stupid. If you Shelby, if you like coffee, I got bad news for you. You might want to switch to something different, because coffee is going up. But the economy does not turn on a dime, and it takes time for it to filter. You ask any economist about presidential policies on the economy, they will tell you that rarely does a president's policy actually have any kind of impact on the economy itself for at least a year or two. Usually presidents are inheriting economies from somebody else, but there are certain things that can be done, such as tariffs, which can impact an economy even quicker. Now, it's not going to, like Scott said, not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but 6 months from now. What is this going to look like? And that's the way these economies work. And I think we've got to be a little bit better. We have to have a better understanding of exactly how an economy the size of the United States, and as we've said before, Scott's made this a great point. We are a consumer economy. Yes, we do make things. Absolutely. But we don't make everything. Our greatest thing that we have as a society, the United States, we consume, and we consume a lot. And the fact is that they're going to take advantage of that. They're going to take advantage. And we're already seeing where some countries just won't trade with us. Some of the things we need and we don't manufacture, they're not going to trade with us. And if they do, it's going to cost you a lot more money to get those, because it's a tit for tat. I mean, they're going to do this kind of stuff. So that would be on the economy thing. That would be, I do think that Harris had a plan. And I think the plan was, as you state, to stick with the Biden philosophy of the economy. I don't think there was going to be a lot of changes there. I really, really don't. And before I put this up, I actually listened to the podcast and because I was trying to make sure that everything that Scott had asked you, I actually got in here from your very long email. And I think I picked and chose where I could. But yeah, there was a plan. It just wasn't the plan that you thought would work. And unfortunately, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see that the plan that you thought would work is going to be a disaster for our economy. And it's going to take time then to roll this back, if we even can, because let's remember, when you're a trading partner, if you go to a store and they cheat you or they treat you badly and you get bad service for them, you're probably not going to go back. So now we're going to be basically with our hand out, hopefully if this all goes away and say, hey, will you trade with us again? We promise to be good. And so, yeah, I think it was something that I think that was Harris's plan.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Trump in his first term was smart, in that he had a growing economy that he inherited from Obama, and all he had to do was keep it going. And he claimed credit for it. Okay, a lot of people gave him the credit. He has a very good media machine, and he got the credit for creating the greatest economy ever. But it was an economy that he inherited. When he started making these moves, which began with the big tax bill that he put together with Paul Ryan, and when he began the trade wars, we saw the economy slowly but steadily going down. And then COVID hit and all bets are off. This time around, he really could have done the same thing, because Biden had solved the inflation problem. It was down to 2.3, I think it was, or something. It was getting it was going to get to that 2% and maybe even below it. But what ended up happening instead was now inflation has ticked up again. It's almost at 3%. And it puts a lot of pressure on the Fed, who has a dual mandate to create jobs, or to prevent unemployment from getting too high, and to watch interest rates. The hard part there is doing both at the same time. And it's what led to stagflation in the 1970s. And if Trump was smart, he would start recalling these tariffs immediately. And he can do it in a way that doesn't make a lot of big splashes, starting with smaller countries that aren't buying anything from us anyway, because they don't have the per capita income to really be great consumers of stuff. I mean, we sell $9 billion or something like that of stuff to, I think it was Malaysia. And I mean, that's amazing salesmanship on our part that we're able to do that. We must have some really good salespeople out there, because their per capita income is like a quarter of what ours is. And the other day when he was at the UN, Trump said something about putting tariffs on Russia. It seems to be the thing that he likes. He doesn't like sanctions, which is on them. He likes tariffs, which is on us. Now I don't know what we get from Russia exactly, but anything that we got from Russia, we would pay more for, and that punishes Russia. It just seems to me like incoherent stuff, and a lot of what I see from Trump is incoherent. What he should have done is just kept things the way they were and claim credit for them, and his people will give him that credit, and the rest of us wouldn't. But that's fine. Instead, he had to go make these moves, and he's taken down the entire global economy in a way that nobody's ever seen before.
Right.
And
so, what do you think about her comment about buying into?
Like Shelby's a woman, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to make that. I am.
Well,
I think
can I just say one more thing? May I say? I wanted to say just one more thing.
But I want to make it clear that I think Shelby's a guy, and I think he looks like Shelby Foote from the Civil War. A really cool looking guy with kind of a grayish beard, sitting laconically, sipping a cocktail on his porch. Very conservative. I love the image that I have of Shelby. Shelby, please never send us your picture.
We don't want Scott to get disappointed.
I wanted to say one more thing about the economy. As I understand it, Trump has the canceled like the hunger report. There's usually the government puts out how many children, American children, the 1 in 7 American children is hungry, or 2 out of 7 is hungry, or whatever
right.
it is, or are hungry. That report has been canceled.
Yeah.
And that report will no longer be coming out. And I think if that to me also raised a huge ringing alarm bell. If fewer children were going to be hungry under this leadership, and I use that word very loosely, then I think that would be something that would be being touted, not canceled and hidden away.
It is being touted. There are no hungry children in the United States. We don't need a report anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't have a report, it can't happen.
That's right. That's right.
Ostriches stick their head in the sand when they don't want to deal with stuff, and that's our official government policy is sticking your head in the sand.
I mean, if you don't test for COVID, you won't have any more cases. I mean, case in point. So Scott,
why should corporations report every quarter? Why can't they just report? Let's say twice a year. That's another example of this. We don't want to put a lot of pressure on corporations to show how badly they're doing. So why don't we just have a maybe twice a year report, and then that'll go to once a year, and then never.
Yeah, once every 5 years, whatever. Yep.
See, I thought her response to the question you asked about how she felt about he felt whoever felt about they buying into corporations. Shelby believes that corporations are the second greatest threat, right behind liberalism, to the American people, and which doesn't really sound like a conservative attitude to me. It's a little bit of a I don't know. It kind of perplexed me. That's why I really wanted to get all that part of the email into this, because he's basically saying that these behemoths are taking away the economy of the United States, and so she's fine with the United States government taking control of it. So that was her response to that. What do you think on that one, Scott?
I mean, except for the second only to liberalism, I'm right there with the corporations are the greatest threat to the American people. I mean, this week,
Well, that's
let's
what
let,
Putin does, and that's what. Sorry, Scott, I interrupted you. That's what the Soviet
it's
Union did, and
okay.
yet people say, "Oh, whoa, no communism, no socialism in the United States." Well,
Yeah, no, right.
it.
I, to me, the greatest threat to America right now is the Chicago Cubs, and then after that, it'll be the Florida Marlins. But that's what is on my mind these days. But let's be fair. We don't look to corporations for values. We don't look to corporations for doing the ethical thing. I mean, in my ethics class, I seem to say it all the time when people bring up that corporations are engaged in human slavery and corporations lie and cheat, and corporations will get away with anything they can as long as there's no government around to rein them in or regulate them. All true. I am with you. And I'm a small business guy. I owned a small business, and I felt that small businesses have to band together to fight the economic behemoths. I'm 100% with you, Shelby, on that one. And that corporations, don't have any kind of loyalty to America. It was corporations that brought their business to other countries, not the liberals, by the way. It was the corporations. Nobody or the conservatives, for that matter. Nobody put a gun to their head and said that they had to move their businesses overseas. They did that for profit, and that's all they care about. And there was a writer from Forbes, I can't remember his name, it was a while ago, who used to call the short-term shareholder value obsession that corporations had the dumbest idea in American history. And I totally agree with that. It is such a destructive idea. China thinks in terms of centuries, and we think in terms of quarters. That is just insane. But I disagree, of course, with you, Shelby, on liberalism. I think that if you want to make America great again, you've got to go back to the 1970s. Once Ronald Reagan became president and started messing around with the tax code the way he did, and then raising taxes 11 times, but never on the wealthiest, that's when we saw the great migration of money from the poor and middle class to the super rich. And it's never been worse than it is right now. And we do need to do something to make America great again. And it's not going to be tariffs, which is another redistribution of wealth. Because if you and I, Shelby, go out and spend some money on something and the price is up 20%, it hurts us. It hurts me. But if a really wealthy guy like Mark over here could go out there and buy something, and he goes, 20% more, no big deal, throws down another couple of bills off his big billfold, and he's fine. He doesn't have to worry about it at all, because he's a 1%er with a pool in his backyard and a barbecue and a pizza oven and a TV, big screen TV that he watches movies on and all kinds of stuff. So, I got, I got in my backyard is duck ponds. Okay. Pond's good for me.
Lord. Well,
I don't need to swim in the pool, sir. I'll just swim right here in the pond.
Oh man,
with the leeches in the pond.
Oh.
There you go. So that's
terrible.
we need to redistribute wealth back down again, because we've redistributed way too much of it up to the highest level, and it's not sustainable. We're gonna need guillotines to take care of this problem, and we don't want to get there. But that's where we're headed.
And the other thing that and the other thing that Shelby said was government oversight, in my opinion, is the best way to accomplish this. Is that not what?
That's regulation.
Is that not what the conservative movement is against?
Yes, it is.
Too much, big government. I mean, again, I think, Shelby, you may not be and of course, I got to read the whole email. It was quite long, but I had to cut it down a little bit, and I hope I got everything that you want me to get into it. I think I did. You seem to be conservative, sort of. You're kind of, you're kind of coming across as rhino on this one, because again, you're the cohorts in the Republican Party would say, "Oh no, government businesses to stay out of business. Business is our friend. They aren't. These corporations aren't our enemy." That's kind of more Bernie Sanders sounding than it is anything else.
Absolutely.
I mean, that sounds like Bernie Sanders. So, and Scott makes a great point. If you want to do any research, and again, I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming that you're probably quite younger than we are. Go look at Reaganomics. Go really take a look at Reaganomics. And that's when all of this started to change. And see what you think of the economy before Reaganomics and the economy after Reaganomics or during Reaganomics. I think it'll be interesting because I have to say your email was well thought out, and I think that again, Scott's correct. We'd like to have this dialogue, and we hope you keep listening. Yeah, we like the fact that you're open-minded, and sometimes you may think we're misguided. Okay.
True.
That's perfect. We are misguided. We root for the Mets. So how much more misguided can you get than that right at this point in time? But yeah, this is again, we enjoy the fact that people that disagree with us listen and can ask these kind of questions and present themselves, with what they have. And like I said, we appreciate getting it. I'm sorry we did not get to it sooner, but I've had a lot on my plate, and I'm the one that has to go through these things as well as with the editing and all the rest of it. So hopefully we answer your question. If you want to write in again, please do so. Do not send a picture. We do not want Scott to get this, that you're not Shelby Foote, who I think he passed away. Shelby Foote.
He did.
Yeah,
but,
he did.
He lives forever in video.
Yeah, he does. And if you don't know who Shelby Foote is, Shelby, go look at Ken Burns. He was the one with the Civil War. He was very big. He's very historian from down south. He's got that great Southern drawl going for him. And yes, you expect him to see him sitting there on his porch talking with a little drink with a little umbrella in it, a mint julep or something. And yeah. So, all right, Brooke, take us out.
Well, so thank you, Shelby, and we appreciate your listening, as Mark said, and we appreciate all our listeners. And do please continue to send us your questions. If you are not yet subscribed on the platform of your choice, please do so. Subscribing is free, and we look forward to seeing you again on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, BH Conflict Resolution Services, a full-service dispute resolution firm offering expert, cost-effective mediation services to couples, groups, and businesses. BHCRS can be reached at www.bhcrs.com.